Injury report today, Anderson, Moses, Everett, and Lucas were all full. Terry McLaurin was limited with an ankle. With that, we can open it up.
All right, let's get at it. Hey, Ron, when you look at Pittsburgh's offense with Ben, it seems like they're going a little bit more of the shorter throws this year with him. What have you seen that? What have you seen with that passing game? Is it changed even from what you've seen over the years?
Well, in the past, he used to stand back there, and Ben used to stand back there and wait for things to open up downfield. He was big, physical, could hang in the pocket, could bide time for his receivers to get open, and then he'd fire it in there because he's got such a great arm. Now you see him making quick reads, quick decisions, and then getting the ball out. And every now and then you got to be on your game because he'll throw one deep. He'll mix it up on you and catch you sleeping. So you've got to be aware. You got to play your game. You've got to read the route progression. I mean, he's done a great job this year taking advantage of those opportunities when they present themselves.
And they've also been really good in the red zone. You guys in the last 6 weeks are the top-ranked team defending in the red zone. And I know you guys have gone over this a little bit, but what is the key down there for being a good red zone defense?
Well, especially in coverage, your front and your back seven have to be coordinated. I mean, you've got to be getting pressure on the quarterback, and you got to be connected or tight to your coverage, so you're in position and you're set and you're ready to make a break on the ball. If that happens, you can be good. You can force a lot of bad passes. You can make tackles as the guys are catching the ball. You keep teams out of the end zone.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, how you doing? You were talking. It was kind of interesting to me when somebody kind of asked you the other day about Pittsburgh and sort of did you kind of want to emulate a little bit of what they're doing? And it made me wonder: do you have models of what you want to do? Is your model Carolina and what you did there, or do you kind of look for other things? Is the situation so different you can't look for models? Is it?
I think really you can want to model yourself after certain situations and circumstances, and that's kind of what you want to do. You want to emulate certain things. I mean, this is my 10th season as a head coach, and I'd like to believe from some of the things that I've done in the past and some of the things I've been part of, having been with, an Andy Reid, having been with a Dave Wanstead and a Norv Turner and a Lovie Smith, that, there's some good things that I can take from all those guys. And then there's some great examples out there right now. You look at what Pittsburgh done, what New England's done, what they've done in New Orleans, Seattle. Why wouldn't you want to emulate those types of places that have had sustained success over a period of time?
Do you find yourself taking pieces of those places, or you want to grab whole different ones, or is it just, oh, I like this little thing here, or I like that thing they did there?
Well, you do take things, but you want to make them your own as well. I mean, you don't sit there and say, well, this is from coach, this such and such, and this is why we're doing it. No, this is what I've seen, and this is how I want to do that.
Thanks.
JP or Nikki?
JP, no. I just want to ask, how did DeShazer Everett look? And when you're looking at guys, as they're coming back from injury, and I know you mentioned the day after they practice, you got to look at how they look. What types of things are you looking for in those guys?
Well, when they're practicing, you're looking for that, like, again, you asked about DeShazer, make sure he has his burst, make sure he has his ability to cut and redirect. It's going to be really, really important, especially for a defensive back. So those are the things that you look at. I mean, it's by position. You can get away with it with offensive linemen or defensive linemen, especially interior guys, that if something's not quite as good, but if you're out there in the secondary or you're a wide receiver, you've got to have it. So that's what you look for. That's what you try to study on your guys, and in terms of whether or not the guy's ready to come back and play.
Sam?
Hey, Ron, at this stage of the season, what's the best way that a coach could use a bonus day like you guys have?
Is to make sure, in my opinion, is you'd like to get them out, get them stretched a little bit, get the blood flowing. But to me, it's really about the mental aspect of the game, to make sure that they've got their assignments down. So it's a good opportunity to, in my opinion, to do a full situational review.
Thank you.
Harris? Harris isn't on. We go Pete. No Pete. We could go Rhiannon just joined.
Hey, Ron. Sorry about that. Just from your experience, both as a player and as a coach, when you have a coach that isn't satisfied with the way that his team won a game, the way Mike Tomlin basically said his team played a junior varsity effort essentially against the Ravens, how have you seen in your experience teams respond to that when you have a coach who said that? And then as a player, what was that like when you guys basically, you won the game, but it almost felt more like a loss?
Well, again, coaches do things, say things for motivational purposes. Coaches do things, say things to get a point across. And, they played against their arch rival. And again, those types of games sometimes are going to happen because, that's the team that, that they kind of based themselves off of. That was last year's high water mark. They won they won their division last year. They had the best record last year. So, coach is trying to make a point when he does that. And again, as a player, I kind of thought about a lot of the reasons why Coach Dicka got after us. As a coach, you see that. You see, coaches trying to make a point to his guys, coaches trying to motivate them, as they go further and further into the season, especially, when they have the record they have.
We got
Thank
light
you, Ron.
crowd. We can just open it up. We'll take 3 or 4 more. No more?
Ron, hi. I just wanted to ask about the big plays you guys have been allowing on defense. It's among the most in the league, 40 yards and over. And I'm just wondering why you think maybe you guys have been susceptible to that and what, if anything, needs to change to try to limit those kinds of plays for opponents.
Well, sometimes stuff happens, sometimes the referees don't see everything. And so, those things happen. And sometimes we get lazy, we let them get over the top, and we've just got to be disciplined, keep it in front of us. And that's really the thing about it. And again, it's the nature of the game. It's going to happen. So to me, you just go out, you work on it, you try and correct it, and then you try not to let it happen again.
And earlier in the year, you talked a lot about, playing hard, through the whole game. And now you've kind of been, I think, emphasizing a little bit more, the mental aspect and getting that down. Is that a natural shift and flow of a season, or is that kind of what you're seeing from this group? And if so, when did you kind of start seeing that?
It's a shift and flow of the season. You want to practice hard. You want certain tempos during practice. You want to be in pads. You want to go through all that portion early on, because now that has to sustain you throughout the year, in my opinion. Because if you practice in pads every once a week, you're going to wear your guys down. And we are very fortunate the last couple of weeks, because of the way the schedule has kind of been laid out for us, is that we've taken care of our guys, and knock on wood, right now we're relatively healthy compared to where we are at any point in the season. So we feel pretty good about, doing the things we've done, and hopefully they continue to pay dividends for us on the football field.
Take 2 more.
Ron, you've mentioned that Terry McLaurin he can kind of be that example to a lot of younger guys. Have you seen some of the other guys kind of feed off him and learn from, what he's doing out there?
Yes. When you watch that group of young wide receivers, and, you do see, them seeing Terry's example. And I think that's kind of why when you watch them practice as a group, they practice as hard as they can. When you're a leader of the group, for the most part, the guy that leads by example continues to practice that way. It elevates everybody. Everybody else practices that way. When I was, way back in the day, here he goes again. But Mike Singletary had a habit of practicing at 100 miles an hour. And guys used to call him a tempo violator, but that was just the way it was. And so it got everybody going, and we practiced that way. And that helped us to be a better football team, because guys, they feed off the energy of their teammates. And that's what you see guys do with Terry.
Hey, Ron.
Ron.
Hey, Ron. Oh, you're one of the few coaches who knows what it's like to be 11-0. And I'm just wondering if you could reflect on, what the pressures of that environment were like, and what the Steelers are going through right now, just in terms of wanting to keep that undefeated season.
Well, from my perspective of the way we did it, the way I talked about it was, we've accomplished what we wanted to in terms of getting ourselves into the show, into the playoffs. Now everything from this point is really about us going out and doing our jobs, and I think that's the thing. But one thing we did try to do is we tried to avoid the conversation of it, to keep it focused on one game at a time. We're going to play one game at a time, and we see what happens. When you start getting ahead and start thinking about the next one, and even the next one after that, now you put yourself in a tough spot. I'll be honest with you. When we eventually lost, I was really disappointed because I would have loved to have gone into the Super Bowl undefeated just to see what happens, to see if that changes anything. I really would have. I'm not sure where Coach Tomlin is, and I don't want to speak for Mike, but I think that'd be pretty cool to be able to do that as a head coach, and I would have loved to have had that opportunity.
All right, I got time for one more.
Ron, you guys have less than half the number of players on injured reserve this year as opposed to last year. So kind of dovetailing on what Sam was talking about, what's Ryan Vermillion's secret to keeping these guys healthy throughout the year?
I think part of it is, our RV, stays on the guys. He tries to assess them and really see and gets to know each guy individually. Some guys you push a certain way, some guys you don't. Some guys you come to the head coach and say, hey, we got to take care of this guy. And we'll do that. We've done that in the past. And so, I truly do trust his opinion. He's been in this a very, very, very long time as a head athletic trainer. We've got a good combination of doctors that are working with us as well. Got to give credit to them as well. Ryan does a great job, but so does the doctors. And so we've got a good group that handle it, and they work together. And we got to continue to keep the focus on taking care of the guys, being proactive, and trying to be as preventative as possible.